Good morning. Can y'all hear me?
A little bit of reverb.
Let's try that again. Good morning. Can y'all hear me? Fabulous. Okay.
I can.
Wonderful. Well, it's about 10:01. We'll
Yep.
just get started in another few moments here, if that works for folks.
Yep.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you.
We all set?
Yes, we can begin.
Okay. Where am I? Good morning. Welcome to the Cradle-to-Career Selection Committee for Advisory Boards. I'm Gavin Payne, and I'm the chair of this committee. Today marks our second committee meeting, which will be run according to, as all meetings are, the Bagley-Keene Open Meeting Act, and we plan to end around 12 p.m., if not a little bit earlier. I'd like to welcome the other members of this committee who are with me today, Member Gonzalez Vasquez, Ohanian, Romero, and Vu. Additionally, we're joined today by General Counsel Julia Blair, who's available to answer questions that any of us may have today about process or policy. I'd like to note that members Ohanian, Romero, and Vu are attending this meeting in the Cradle-to-Career Data Office, the brand new offices. Member Gonzalez Vasquez and myself are conducting this meeting from other teleconference locations, which are reflected in the agenda. A small note to members, please ensure that your cameras remain on throughout the duration of the meeting. That's to make sure that we are in compliance with new rules of remoteness for Bagley-Keene, the Open Meeting Act. So the purpose of today's meeting is to approve 9 applicants and runners-up for both the Data and Tools Advisory and Community Engagement Advisory boards. The 9 applicants and runners-up will be recommended to the governing board for final approval at the August 14th governing board meeting. As a reminder, at the first committee meeting in April, we approved the advisory board's application, rubric, and selection process. So, in preparation for today's meeting, members of the committee, all present, reviewed the applications submitted and scored the applications in tandem with the rubric we approved to provide a prioritization of applicants to the office. I want to take a minute first to thank all that applied. In total, the office received 66 very thoughtful and comprehensive applications for very few open slots. We appreciate all the candidates' time and effort in undertaking this process. Additionally, we've received 59 letters of support from individuals and organizations that have taken their time to vocalize their support for particular candidates. Thank you very much for your input. We appreciate all of your time and thoughts in this issue. So before we dig into today's work, I'm going to take a look at what lies in front of us. In total, there are 7 items on today's agenda. Our agenda, which is posted on the C2C website, specifically notes the agenda items on which we will be accepting public comment. Today, members will be voting on 3 agenda items, and we will open it up to public comment 5 times. It's also important to note that we may be shortening the speaker's time for public comment depending on the number of speakers that come in to us. Specifically, if there are more than 10 commenters, we will shorten the time for each commenter to 1 minute. Thank you for your flexibility and understanding in all of this. So to start things off, I'm going to call the meeting to order and ask that Mary Kate Cruz-Jones please call the roll.
Member Payne.
Here.
Member Gonzalez Vasquez.
Here.
Member Ohanian.
Yes.
Member Romero,
Yes.
and Member Vu.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Wonderful. Okay, so now we'll move to agenda item 2, presentation on the background of the advisory boards and an overview of the selection of new members. I want to invite Mary Kate Cruz-Jones, Chief of Strategic Initiatives and Partnerships, to present this item to us today. Thank you, Mary Kate.
Perfect. Gavin, we're on the approval of minutes.
Oh, sorry, my bad. If we could please, are there any comments or additions to the approval of minutes? Hearing none, may I have a motion to approve the April meeting minutes as submitted by folks?
So move. Second.
Great, did you get that?
We have a motion from Vu and we have a second from Romero.
That's correct.
Thank you. Okay, so before we go to the minutes, let's see if we have a public comment from anybody on the minutes itself.
Public comment. And there's no public commenters with you, members Payne or Gonzalez Vasquez, correct?
There is not.
Fabulous, perfect.
Correct.
So, and there's no one here in Sacramento. What I'd love to do now is open up the chat. So if you're a virtual member that's joined us today and you'd like to make a public comment on this agenda item, meeting the meeting minutes from April 12th, please feel free to raise your hand at this time. I'm not seeing any hands raised, but let's just give it another moment. Seeing no hands raised, let's close public comment. We have none at this time.
Great. So we have a motion and a second. I will now ask Mary Kate Cruz-Jones to perform a roll call vote to approve the minutes.
Member Payne.
Aye.
Member Gonzalez Vasquez.
Aye.
Member Ohanian.
Aye.
Member Romero.
Aye.
Member Vu.
Yes.
With 5 ayes, the motion passes.
Wonderful. Thanks so much. Are we ready to move on?
Please.
Indeed. Let's go now to agenda item 3, discussion, public comment, and possible action on the Data and Tools Advisory Board applicants.
Wonderful.
I want to invite Mary Kate Cruz-Jones to present this item today. Thank you, Mary Kate.
Thank you. I'll happily take it from here. Good morning, members. I'm Mary Kate Cruz-Jones, Chief of Strategic Initiatives and Partnerships here at C2C. I'd like to refer members to the staff report that was drafted for this agenda item. And if you're a member of the public that would like to follow along, the staff report can be accessed on the C2C website. So during this agenda item, we will walk through the Data and Tools Advisory Board scope of work, review the 2024 Data and Tools Advisory Board vacancy analysis, and resurface those ideal populations that the committee discussed in April. And then kind of move forth and talk about the applicants received, and then it will be opened up for member deliberation today. So I will be presenting member slating based off of that member prioritization that happened. And as I just mentioned, the committee will discuss and deliberate the applicants. And in total, I want folks to remember this. We'll need to agree upon 5 applicants to seat for the upcoming vacancies, as well as 5 runners up, noting prioritization of ranking for the Data and Tools Advisory Board. And that last part's really important for the office. Okay, so the Data and Tools Advisory Board. Before we discuss any applicants or the application process, I thought it would be a really good idea to take this opportunity to ground members in the work of the Data and Tools Advisory Board. The Data and Tools Advisory Board is responsible for examining whether the data system is providing actionable information and identifying ways to improve access to that information. The Data and Tools Advisory Board consists of 16 folks that are appointed by the governing board. And currently members include advocacy organization staff, community organization staff, and end users of the data system, such as practitioners and researchers. So on our next on this slide here, it visually depicts the 2024 Data and Tools Advisory Board vacancy analysis. The term out 2024 analysis graph provides a visual of the 5 members that will be cycling off of Data and Tools Advisory Board. One member currently represents an advocacy organization. 2 folks represent community organizations, and 2 are practitioners. So given their departure and pending the new selection of members, the Data and Tools Advisory Board will be composed of 2 members that represent advocacy organizations, 1 member that represents a community organization, and 6 practitioners, as well as 2 members that represent research organizations. So what I want to remind the committee of here is those ideal populations. So when y'all last met on October 12th, the committee determined it would like to fill the 5 vacancies with 1 representative from an advocacy organization, 1 representative from a community organization, 1 practitioner, and y'all had made the distinction of ideally 1 practitioner who specializes in workforce development, as well as 1 student. And while the ideal populations for appointment were established, today, the committee will finalize slating decisions and prioritization for recommendation to the governing board, right? We all know that sometimes there are things that we hope for in life, but we'll see how this shakes out today. So the next thing that I'd like to point members to and remind them of is on the next slide, which is the scoring rubric, very familiar to folks. As mentioned earlier, members received the applications. They also received a summary spreadsheet that was utilized as a personal review tool, a Google form that shared the results of their rubric scores for candidates, and then the rubric, which is displayed in front of us here. The scoring rubric was approved by the committee on the 12th, and this defines the criteria used for scoring the applicants. You'll notice that in the criteria boxes, it was defined community affiliation, data set, data alignment, and actionable experience. So when y'all were absorbing all of that information and then doing your scoring, you kept those 4 criteria in mind. Now let's take a look at the application breakdown. So I would like to echo what Gavin stated at the opening of this meeting. On behalf of the office, we would like to thank all those that applied to the Data and Tools Advisory Board. It was evident that there was a lot of time put into these applications. The applications were very thoughtful, and so we appreciate your time and energy. And echoing that, our committee, y'all had some really tough decisions that you made and you will be making. So thank you again for your time and energy on that. We are pleased to announce that we received a total of 28 Data and Tools Advisory Board applications for the 5 slots. So again, it will be a competitive process. And, just wanted to have one more moment of gratitude. On the application, applicants had the opportunity to self-identify communities that they're affiliated with, and this was noted on question 8. So based on the applicant's selection and information disclosed in the application, applicants were grouped into vacancy categories in which committee members were provided their prioritization for selection to the Data and Tools Advisory Board. Out of the 28 Data and Tools Advisory Board applications received, 3 applicants were grouped as advocacy or community organization representatives, and 25 were placed in the practitioner researcher category. There are 2 applicants that disclosed that they were students obtaining a doctoral degree or taking educational courses for teaching. These individuals were placed in the practitioner researcher category based on information disclosed in the application information, but I would like to note that their student status was noted on the scoring tool for committee review, so it didn't go without saying. The student category was reserved for applicants in high school or college, and there were no applications that had noted this in the data and tools applicant pool. So, as noted earlier, the task in front of the committee today is to select 5 individuals to sit on the Data and Tools Advisory Board and 5 individuals that can be called upon if the primary candidate steps down. Next, I will go over the tabulation results. But first, I want to remind the committee of new voices that are not currently represented on the Data and Tools Advisory Board, such as folks that have a lived experience or experience with incarcerated youth, undocumented students, students with disabilities, adult education, and workforce development. So I'm pleased to share that these perspectives are present in the applications that we did receive. And now on to that slating information that you just got a preview of. So first up here, and yes, I should say, before I start saying these names, I just want to apologize in advance. I may botch it. So if feel free to uplift the proper pronunciation, but bear with me, and I appreciate your understanding through this process. So after tabulating the rubric scores from members, the top ranked advocacy and community representative is Lauren Reed from Oakland Promise. And the runner-up for this category is Martha Ortiz Villar from Students Rising Above. Moving on to practitioners and researchers, the top ranked individuals in this category are Yulia Tarasova from the city of Roseville, Daniel Milan, PhD from the city of Los Angeles, John Watson from San Diego County Office of Education, and Ellie Brucker from the Institute for College Access and Success. Looking at our runners-up for this category, members will have 2 choice point decisions to make in this category. So after tabulating committee results, there was a tie between Carolyn Durdella. I'm gonna make that little pronunciation correction myself. Carolyn, please feel free to also correct me. From Rio Hondo Community College District, and Alex Nottambottom from Popelka from the Regional K-16 Education Collaboratives Grant Program. Members need to make a decision for the first runner-up and the second runner-up, and that decision point is reflected in purple in the slide deck before us. The second choice point before the committee is the selection for runners-up 3 and 4. So after tabulating the committee results, there was a 3-way tie, and this happened between Tammy Pham from Environmental Charter Middle Schools, Carlos Rodriguez from Los Angeles Unified School District, Division of Adult and Career Education, and Josh Sussman from the University of California, Berkeley. So again, the committee is being asked to select 2 individuals from there. So we're going to want a total of 5 folks for the primary slating, and then we're going to want a total of 5 folks for runners up. But again, focusing on what's in front of us here, 2 individuals will need to be determined, and then we'll need to know runners up 3 and 4. Sorry, I kind of convoluted 2 things there. And this choice point is before you in green, as noted on the slide deck. So this next slide is, I'm kind of rearing the end of my presentation here. So potential slating could look like this, again, with some choice points in front of us. But bringing it all together, this is what it would look like based off of the committee members' rubric scores. I wanted to uplift again that we need to understand that prioritization, and then those 2 choice points, which is reflected in green and purple. So what I will leave members with is also the motion language as y'all finish your deliberation. So on the next slide, we see here, a potential motion for this could look like Move to recommend the governing board to approve 5 applicants. Obviously, those applicants would need to be named to the Data and Tools Advisory Board, and 5 runners up. Those 5 runners up would need to be named, and ideally saying runner up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so that the office has very clear direction as to how to tap those folks. Thank you so much, and I will hand it back to Chair Payne.
Thank you very much, Mary Kate, for your informative presentation. I would like to turn it over to members for questions. It seems pretty straightforward in terms of the way we sort of organically rank the members for the sort of the membership itself. We have some decision points and some conversation to have around the runners up and alternates. But I want to open it up to the group to see if there's any comment or clarification that's desired on the group of 5 first. Let's do that.
Can I just speak or?
Oh, yes, you
Okay,
can.
well, first, no questions. Just wanted to say thank you to staff for, all the intricate work that goes into this. So thank you all. No, it wasn't easy. We had even more applicants this time than we did the first time. So it's a lot to balance, a lot of work and coordinating everything, and being responsive to the governing board members that are volunteering for this. And also wanted to say thank you to all of the applicants. It was very difficult to choose and to rank all the, everyone was just so well qualified, and I think any of the applicants would have been great representatives on the advisory boards. So just I just wanted to say thank you to everyone.
Yeah, marvelous. Thank you, Member Vu. Other comments in general? All right, let's turn then, and please feel free to interrupt or scream or yell or something too, because as with most of you, I'm looking at the slide, but I'm also looking at tiny little pictures of you guys, and so if there are any issues, just yell out or anybody say something. So it falls to us now to do sort of the rank order of the runners up. You have that sort of list in front of you. Is there any question from folks, or if there's any suggestion from folks about how you want to sort of organize those sorts of runners up? I'm not seeing much in the way of comment. Not hearing anything as well. Let me just, as a straw person, sort of throw it out. Would anybody object to the ranking as printed on the materials that we got from the office? To clarify, what that would be is in order, sort of Ortiz, VR, Durdella, not Bottom-Popelka, not Bohm-Popelka, excuse me, Pham, Rodriguez, and Sussman in that sort of order.
I think we're trying, if it's helpful for visual folks, I think we're trying to get back to that slide.
Okay, good, thank you.
That'd be good.
Fabulous, if that's helpful for people to visually see.
So that's the slide, I think, that's the slide of those who were slated and who we selected through our process as the slating for the first part of the section of that is the slating itself, and I think there is very little discussion about that. The runners up is the piece that I'm asking folks to focus on, and to see and to do a sort of a check with people about whether the order that you see folks in is an appropriate order to create for the runners up. Oh, thank you.
Gavin, if I may ask another question?
Certainly.
If we go back to the other one, please.
Thank you.
Would the thought be that Mirtha if I understood correctly, Mirtha would be number 1, And then would you want, is a potential that Carolyn is 2 and Alex 3? Because those folks had come in tied. So if the committee wanted to give prioritization to 2 versus 3, that's helpful.
That's what I'm suggesting for the sake of discussion amongst ourselves in deliberation.
Thank you.
Can you repeat that one more time? I didn't hear that really well.
Sure. So Martha would be runner-up 1. So if any of these 5 folks were to step down, Martha would be the first to tap. Should a second person step down, the office would need clarity in terms of who should be prioritized as number 2, whether that would be Carolyn or Alex, because they came in at equal scoring.
Yep. And essentially, in that instance, what we're being asked to choose is sort of the sort of the practitioner from the community college and a regional K-16 collaborative person who is a researcher. So we're sort of rank ordering which is that goes in.
Can I ask a question? So
Certainly.
when we go to the original charge of having 5 selected and 5 runner-ups, we're going to drop, if we're doing what you're suggesting, then basically Josh would fall off as the 6th one. 1, 2.
There would be one of these folks that would not be selected. That's correct.
And you're suggesting, the thought was the order of the runners-up that are listed here in whatever, I guess I'm questioning the order that they were put in, was the next voting, right? By those?
Yes, so to be
Okay,
clear,
got
so Carolyn and Alex came
Yep.
in, and so that, but Tammy, Carlos, and Josh are in the same bracket, same scoring. So between Tammy, Carlos, and Josh, one of those folks won't make it, but we need to know who's 4 and who's 5.
Correct.
And do you want to have that discussion now?
Yes.
Okay. Well,
We're deciding 2 things. We're deciding we're deciding order of 2 and 3 between Caroline and Alex, and then we're out of the next 3, the greens. We are deciding 4 and 5.
okay. Well, I'll kick it off and say I'm okay with the first set with Martha and Caroline and Alex in that order.
Okay.
I'm on the second part, I would switch Carlos and Josh.
And so then you would list Tammy as 4 and Josh as 5, and essentially.
It's really hard, I know it's like, I think the categories are throwing me off too, because depending on how people come in, are we going to end up with 4 researchers? And nothing against researchers, but I think you're trying to get that SWOT.
No, I understand.
Because in some ways I would put Josh at the first of the 3 in green, but in my head, looking at the researcher lineup, I'm not trying to cause a problem either.
No, I think that's entirely rational. Absolutely rational.
So that's where I'm at.
Okay. So we have a it's not a motion per se, but it's a suggestion at this point. I'd love to hear other people's commentary on that. The idea is in order, sort of Martha 1, Caroline 2, Alex 3, Tammy 4, Josh 5, and Carlos would wait for another opportunity.
I actually would want to move Carlos above Tammy because he has lived experience. Grew up, he mentioned in his statement that he's an immigrant, former English as a second language student. And we want to have a very diverse representation of folks. And he's also a practitioner. And I feel like we're leaning heavy on the researcher side.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was my only concern about that too.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm good with that.
So then, if I'm hearing it correct, well, so tell me then again what we would do. We would make Carlos number 4 and Tammy number 5.
That's
Is that
correct.
correct?
Yes.
Okay.
That's
How do folks feel about that? So I generally default to silence is assent, but this is these are kind of big decisions for us, and I want to give folks extra time to work them through and to think them through. Okay, I don't see much conversation. There's a Q&A. So then let me see if I've got it correctly in my mind so that we can proceed if there's no other discussion to a motion. First, the 5 who through our scoring were selected as those who will be slated to sit. And then in terms of the runners up list, what I show is in order 1 through 5: Mirtha, Caroline, Alex, Carlos, and Tammy. Does that seem right to folks?
That's about right to me.
Okay.
Yeah.
With no other discussion, I'd love to entertain a motion along those lines.
So moved, Romero.
Thank you.
So can
Is there a second?
Second.
can I clarify the motion for the record?
Yeah.
Okay, move to recommend that the committee move to recommend to the governing board to approve Laura Reed, Julia Tarasova, Daniel Milan, John Watson, and Ellie Brucker as for appointment to the Data and Tools Advisory Board, and in the following order as runner-ups: Mirtha Ortiz Villar, Carolyn Durdella, Alex Notbaum Popeka, Carlos Rodriguez, and Tammy Pham.
That is correct. And we have a motion and a second. John, was that you as the second?
Right.
Thank you. All right, now it's time for us to go to public comment. If you want to comment on this agenda item, please note that comments should be limited to agenda item 3. As a reminder, if we have more than 10 folks that would like to speak, we'll be reducing the speaking time to 1 minute. So before we open it up to folks, and I pass it off to Mary Kate, I ask that members in our remote locations confirm that there is no public comment at your location. I'll go first. I am confirming there is no one here to make public comment. Member Gonzalez Vasquez?
I'm also confirming that there isn't anyone here.
Perfect, thank you. Mary Kate?
Wonderful. No one in Sacramento. So we'll head to our Zoom room. So if folks are online and would like to make a public comment, please feel free to raise your hand. What I ask that we do at this point is all folks interested, raise your hand. As Chair Payne just mentioned, if we're to get more than 10 commenters, we need to accommodate for that. I'm not seeing any hands raised, but I want to give it another moment. Okay, I'm still not seeing any hands raised, so I am going to close public comment for this agenda item.
Great. Thank you. Fabulous. We have a motion and a second. If we need to, do we need to clarify or do we need to repeat the motion? I think it was stated a couple of minutes ago pretty well. So let's go ahead and go to a vote, if you could, please.
Member Payne,
Aye.
Member Gonzalez Vasquez,
Aye.
Member Ohanian,
Aye.
Member Romero,
Aye.
Member Vu.
Yes.
With 5 ayes, the motion passes.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you all very much for that. So now we are going to move on to agenda item 4. We're going to do the same process again for the Community Engagement Advisory Board. I want to now again turn it over to Mary Kate to take us through the particulars of that item. You're on.
Perfect. Thank you. And apologies, something that occurred to me too late, but I wanted to say it. The decision point that we just made, the reason the order that folks showed up in was alphabetical order. I had not shared that with y'all, but if that's helpful context, just wanted to clear the record there. There was a rhyme to that reason. So thank you, Chair Payne. I'd like to refer members to the staff report that was drafted for this agenda item. So if you're a member of the public and would like to follow along, that staff report again could be accessed on the C2C website. As we just did for data and tools, for this agenda item, we're going to walk through community engagement scope of work, review the 2024 Community Engagement Advisory Board vacancy analysis, resurface those ideal populations that y'all discussed for this advisory board. And then lastly, we're going to take a look at that comparison, that application breakdown. So, and then round it off with member slating based off of member prioritization. So the committee will then discuss and deliberate applicants as we just did, reminding the committee today that y'all will need to agree upon 4 applicants to seat for those upcoming vacancies and then 4 runners up. And again, noting that prioritization, which would be super helpful for the office. So thank you in advance for that. All right, taking a look at community engagement. So before we discuss the applicants or the application process again, we're going to ground ourselves in the work of the Community Engagement Advisory Board. So the Community Engagement Advisory Board is responsible for examining whether the managing entity is creating strong feedback loops with data users, supporting evidence-based decision-making and analytical capacity, and ensuring equitable access to actionable information. The Community Engagement Advisory Boards consists of 16 members, all appointed by the governing board, and members currently include advocacy organization staff, community organization staff, and users of the data system, such as practitioners and students. So taking a look at that vacancy analysis, the slide here visually depicts the 2024 Community Engagement Advisory Board, what that vacancy analysis looks like. The term out graph depicts a visual of the 4 members that will be cycling off, 2 members representing advocacy organizations, 1 member representing a community organization, and 1 member is a practitioner. Given their departures and pending the new selection of members, Community Engagement Advisory Board will be composed of 5 practitioners, 3 members that represent community organizations, and 2 members that represent advocacy organizations, as well as 2 students that are currently seated on this board. What we'll look at next is that those ideal populations. So when y'all met in April, you had discussed wanting to slate 1 representative from an advocacy organization, 2 representatives from a community organization, and 1 student. While the ideal populations for appointment were established, today the committee will finalize slating, those slating decisions and prioritization for recommendation to the governing board. We're going to take a look now at that scoring rubric. So we had looked at data and tools and gone over that. This is the one that's applicable for community engagement. So as a reminder, members received all the applications, the summary spreadsheet that they used as a personal tool, the Google form to share the results of their rubric scores, as well as this rubric. The scoring rubric was approved by the committee on the 12th, and it defines the criteria that y'all used for your scoring. The defined criteria looks like community affiliation, community ambassador or actionable experience, soliciting input and communicating needs and concerns, and student and educator tools. So the application breakdown. And again, you know, we have talked about data and tools. I want to just take another moment of gratitude for all of our community engagement applicants. We got 38. So there was a large pool here. So thank you again for, you know, your heart and soul that you put into this. We appreciate it. It was not missed on us. And thanks for the committee sifting through all of this wonderful information that was presented before you. Hard decisions made by all. So on the application, again, applicants had the opportunity to self-identify communities that they were affiliated with. Again, this was question number 8. And so based on that applicant selection and the information disclosed in the application, those applicants were grouped into vacancy categories in which the committee members provided their prioritization for selection to this Community Engagement Advisory Board. So what that looked like was, of the 38 folks that turned in those applications, 6 were grouped in advocacy, 6 were grouped in community organizations, and 22 were grouped into practitioners, as well as 4 applicants being grouped as students. Now, I know I highlighted this in data and tools when we went over their candidate pool. Students were categorized as students if they disclosed that they were either in high school or college. I do want to note there were an additional 5 applicants that disclosed that they were students, and those folks were obtaining a graduate or a doctoral degree or in an apprentice program. So these individuals were placed in a primary category such as community organization or practitioner. And again, this was based upon the information disclosed in their application. But it is important to note that they did have a student status represented, and that was reflected in all of the materials that were given to members as they performed their review. So, as the committee just did for data and tools today, y'all will need to select 4 individuals to sit on Community Engagement Advisory Board and 4 individuals that can be called upon if that primary candidate steps down. And next I will go over the tabulation results. But first I want to remind the committee of new voices that are not currently represented on the Community Engagement Advisory Board. And so these are folks that have lived experience or experience with tribal representation, adult workforce, workforce development, and then regional focus that we don't have as much exposure, such as those north of Sacramento. And again, super excited to say that we did get a very healthy applicant pool. And so all of these new voices are reflected in applications that we received. So that's super exciting for the committee. Okay, so before I go into the results, on the next slide, I'll do the same thing. I'm apologizing in advance. I'm asking for grace in advance. So thank you all for bearing with me and providing your understanding. After tabulating the rubric scores from members, the top ranked advocacy representative is Darrell Jones from Blue Education Foundation. And the runner-up for this category is Marissa Johnson from Campaign for College Opportunity. Looking at the community slating, we have the top ranked community representative as Natalia Gonzalez from the Riverside County Office of Education, and the runner-up for this category being Lisa Countryman from Jewish Vocational Services. In the practitioner category, we have Scott Asseltine from the Kuruk tribe, and the runner-up being Pang Vangai from State Center Adult Education Consortium. Now, the last category here is student. And I do want to spend some time discussing our final slating before we really dig into everything as a whole. And before I touch upon the prioritization of student members, I want to just provide a little bit of background. So at our last governing board meeting on May 1st, 2024, just happening a month ago but it seems like eons, y'all as members of the governing board had the opportunity to hear the results of the feasibility study for the fall 2023 proposals. In particular, there was a community engagement proposal related to the addition of student board members to C2C's governing board as well as advisory boards. While the study noted that student board members who are currently undergraduates or in high school will provide valuable feedback on the design of practical tools and outreach efforts, it is also highlighted that there are some considerations. So first, while it is technically possible for adults who are under 18 of age to act as board members, individuals under 18 will require parental disclosure and consent to act as board members. Second, the study underscored that student members may experience distinct and unique costs as well as a result of being an active board member. And to ensure adequate support to the student members, additional staff would be needed for Cradle-to-Career. At this time, Cradle-to-Career does not have a dedicated staff member to provide direct support to student members, nor was one allocated in the budget in the coming year. So I know that this just happened, but I just wanted to remind folks of that as we are kind of coming into this topic. Also, the same feasibility study, which is online, members may recall that the report provided a table in the back. It's Appendix A, and that provided information about student representation on state boards. And it references other models in the state. So the California Department of Education does invite one high school senior to the State Board of Education. So I reached out to CDE to get a little bit more background because I wanted to come prepared for this committee meeting. So they have one student member. They have a total of 11 board members. And to provide support, CDE staff has 3 dedicated staff members for that board and for that student support. So I asked members to take that into consideration as well. And as shared in data and tools, the student category was reserved for applicants that were either in high school or college. The top ranked student is Anushka Tatakonda, a high school student, and the runner-up is Christian Reyes from Cal Poly San Luis Obispo. So I know I just gave folks a lot of information there. What I'd like to do right now is bringing it all together on the next slide, which would be the potential slating and what that could look like is presented here in front of you. Members will obviously now have the time to make this decision. And I'd be happy to pass it back. Oh, excuse me. Sorry, one more thing. Would be going over the motion, which would look very similar to what we just did.
Yep.
And is presented for you on the next slide.
Okay. Thank you, Mary Kate. Completely comprehensive as always. Thanks very much for that. I struggle with the student issue too. Having worked at the department, having had to deal with the state board and their issue, they have a sort of a long history. They have dedicated staff. They have a long process that is undertaken with a whole group of students to sort of have clarity around what the responsibilities of the students and their parents are. I just struggle with this one, and so I guess what I'm going to suggest for our consideration, again, suggesting as a straw man for us to work through, is essentially to swap the two that we have, who both rated pretty highly, and that is sort of swap out Christian and Anushka and make her the alternate as opposed to the main student participant. And I just want to take that off the top and throw that out to the group and see what any reaction is to that, and then let's have the same sort of conversation about the group itself.
Thanks for that idea, Gavin. And it was something I was considering as well, but I was hoping to get a bit more clarification from staff. What's the game plan to support the high school student? I mean, like the college student, they older, they have more flexibility, but if the high school student needs more support and C2C staff just do not have the capacity because of budget constraints, what's the game plan to support that student?
Yeah, well, I'll open up to the team. I guess what I heard fairly clearly was that there isn't capacity to be able to support an under 18 youth student on the board in the way that is both sort of not overtaxing of the team and is protective of the student.
Right.
Yeah, I would suggest that we, as you stated, Gavin, that we flip the two. And if in fact the board, we could bring this back to the board and say, this is the reason why. And should the board in the future want to begin the tradition of under 18, and then we do the necessary planning and the budget requests and what have you. So I just think if at this juncture, we do as you suggest, and if this is something we want to do in the future, then we just go about it and do all the things we need to do to build that infrastructure to do that.
I love that suggestion, Member Raro. Thank you. Any comment? Marianne, you have your hand up?
Yes, so just to reinforce what Mary Kate just mentioned and what Member Romero just mentioned, when our office did the feasibility study, in response to that proposal, we had outlined the possibility of what Member Romero just mentioned. So highlighting the opportunity for the governing board to make a budget request for us to have an additional staff person who would focus exclusively on, supporting advisory board members broadly and specifically student advisory board members. So that's, we don't currently have, we have a very lean team to begin with 2 members of our team being tasked to support 53 board members. So we do want to be thoughtful about what resources are required to be able to do this well.
And safely, absolutely. Thank you, Marianne. Any discussion, any reaction to the suggestion? Both suggestions. The first is agendize this as an item for us to at least discuss at the board for future reference as we go through this, in resourcing the activity and prioritizing the under 18 student member if that's something that the board wants. And then the second piece of the equation is the sort of the swapping out of Christian and Anushka.
Yeah, I mean, I think it definitely pains me to think about switching them, because if you look at Anushka's application, it's stellar. I mean, we couldn't have asked for a better representation of a student. And you know, I understand that there isn't capacity, but I do think we need to talk about it as a board, so that we can include students like Anushka, who are in high school, who are passionate about this, you know, education policy and equity, and so that we can support them as well.
Yeah, absolutely agree.
Yeah, she was very impressive.
Yep, right.
I guess my question is, from the C2C staff, is there desire from the staff to see board members step in like a mentorship role? Or is that, I mean, we used to do that, not necessarily with under 18 board members, but you bring new board members on, you know, existing board members, bring new board members in, you agree to have certain level of communication that's more than maybe usual, just to bring, I mean, I just look at the heart and soul of what C2C is about and think, is that a good opportunity for us as board members, whether it's sharing the responsibility, whatnot? I mean, I guess I go to the point of, is it right that these individuals serve first and then we figure out a way to get to, just like every other problem, we get to a way of solutioning that? So just a thought.
That's a great question.
I'm looking at Mary Kate to see if she wants to jump in or not. I'm happy to give Mary Kate the mic.
She's in the other room, so if she's gonna run over here, I take it
Yes,
back.
Mary Ann, please feel free.
Ultimately, this is the board's decision. And if governing board members or current advisory board members who already have a year or two under their belt wish to step up and play a mentorship role, our office could certainly facilitate that in the sense of, you know, assigning people to specific board members and creating that. It would create more work for the board members, clearly. So I think my main comment on that would be, sounds like a great idea. It would require follow through and commitment from board members to actually do it, because the one thing worse than not having a mentorship program is creating one and it being uneven in implementation. So I think that's the first question. I think the organization, what it would take from our office to kind of do that piece of organizing, here's what a mentorship program looks like, here's what the lift is, here's who we're assigning, and trying to provide the support to do that well, will also be a lift for our team too. I think I just want to make sure we're clear about that. Now, ultimately, you know, we work at your direction. So if the board decides that it is a very high priority to see student members and to see specific individuals, we can do our best to support that. It will require reprioritization amongst other activities we would have otherwise done. So that's a long-winded way of saying it's all about trade-offs. And I just want to, again, voice over, in contrast to many other state entities, you know, we have 2 staff positions, 53 board members. That's a wild imbalance. So I just want to say that out loud. And also I hear you that it's really hard to see excellent applications and to decide, given an application that's already come in, what to do in that case.
Yeah.
So I would, Mary Kate, please weigh in, because you wouldn't be able to better estimate specifically what that lift would look like for your team.
Sure. This is also, if helpful to share, this is something that was uplifted by a current advisory board member. The thought that maybe as advisory board members are cycling off, they could come back in a mentor capacity to help on new folks. And I think Mary Ann said it very well, that it's a brilliant, wonderful idea. I love my team member that I'm sitting in front of here. And we do receive other supports throughout C2C, but we are a very small and yet mighty team. And so I am a bit protective about the amount of public facing meetings we have, public facing processes. We might be taking on 2 additional ad hocs this summer. So it gives me pause. There's hesitation, which is why I wanted to bring it forth with the committee. And I do believe that I too hear everything that's everyone is saying, would love it. But it was interesting to also hear other state models in which, you know, they have 3 staff folks for an 11-person board, which is a bit of a contrast to C2C reality. So just want to be cognizant of bandwidth and serving the members we currently have as well as we can.
Well, I just think it's just a factor of the fact that your board members now are fairly self-sufficient and independent. We don't take a lot of care and feeding, as it were. I'm kidding.
Speak for yourself, Gavin. Speak for yourself.
Fair enough. Fair enough. That's good. All right.
And a lot of that cat herding they do. So I would just say we're just not ready for this right now. And I think the mentorship program is a great consideration. And I think, you know, doing things on the fly is ambitious and exciting, but it's wrought with problems. How would you say, unintended consequences of doing that? So I would recommend, you know, we roll it up, the kind of program we want to bring on, under 18, budget, mentor program. I like it all. And let's just be methodical about it.
And let's put it sort of as a to-do for us collectively, but for right now, I think it's my own sense is that it's too much of an ask of the team.
Yeah.
Okay. Other comments for other members? If I'm scanning and I'm seeing none, are folks comfortable with the swapping of the two quote students on the list? And if so, I think we might be in position to entertain a motion.
I would like to talk about just briefly, not a motion regarding the community choice.
Yeah.
You know, in looking at this, workforce development continues to be a missing voice.
Mm-hmm.
And Cortland brings that. She heads an organization that has a long history in the community-based organization and the workforce development world. And this is the discussion. I find myself increasingly in discussions regarding the alignment of workforce development and education. So I was thinking bringing in people from the workforce development community would make sense. And not that, I was very impressed with Natalia's application. But I think we have similar voices. But I think from the workforce development, we're lacking. The assumption here is they both are high scoring. So I just wanted to put that thought out there.
Okay.
And not as a motion, but a discussion point.
So tell me again the name of the person that you're referencing. I didn't catch it the first time.
Lisa, I'm sorry, Countryman, public work. Oh, yeah, apologies.
Okay.
Lisa Countryman. Yeah.
I think keeping in perspective of, putting into context that, the governor is moving forward with the master plan for career education and looking to greater align post-secondary education in all its forms with workforce. I think that puts a priority onto what Government Board Member Romero said.
Mm-hmm. So then just to put a fine point on it, Member Romero, are you recommending that we swap Countryman with Gonzalez?
I am.
Okay. Discussion on that? Thank you, Mr. Member Vu, for your comments.
Thank you.
Other members? Go ahead.
Can you hear me? Oh, okay. Sorry about that.
Yeah, perfect.
Awesome. I also agree. I think, we need to be able to have metrics that matter, and having someone that has such a wealth of experience in workforce development, but also in development metrics, I think is really important.
Yes.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
I'm good with that change.
For myself, I'm good with that suggestion as well. Other comments from other members? Although I think we captured everybody. So then with that, we would be swapping between the lists, the community representative with swapping Countryman for Gonzalez, and in the student category, swapping Reyes for Tadekonda. With that, do I hear anybody being ready to make a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Moved by Romero.
Second,
I'm sorry, was that John or was that?
that was me, John.
Thanks, John.
Thank you.
And Gavin, sorry, if helpful to voice over for this one as well.
Yep.
and Julia, looking at you. So voicing things over, it would be the motion would be moved to recommend to the committee to recommend Darrell Jones, Lisa Countryman, Scott Asseltine, and Christian Reyes as the 4 applicants for appointment to the Community Engagement Advisory Board, and then 4 runners up: Marissa Johnson for the advocacy category, Natalia Gonzalez for the community category, Peng Van Guy for the practitioner category, and Anushka Tatakonda for the student category.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. We have a motion and a second, which means it's time for us to open it up to public comment. So if you want to comment on this agenda item, please note that comments should be limited to item number 4. As a reminder, if we have more than 10 folks, we'll limit the time that you can speak. Before we open it up to the public on Zoom, I want to pass it off to Mary Kate. I asked them, before I pass it off to Mary Kate, I want to ask the members in the remote locations if you have anybody there to comment. In this location, there is nobody. Member Gonzalez Vasquez. Anybody in your location to comment?
No.
Okay. Anybody to comment at the offices?
No one in Sacramento.
Perfect. Mary Kate, can you open it up to the Zoom?
Perfect. Let's open it up to Zoom. I see 2 hands already raised. So if there's other folks, please raise your hands at this time, because if we get more than 10 folks, that's going to affect our speaking time. So I'll just give folks another second to raise their hands. Okay, seeing no change, we'll proceed with the 2 folks that have their hands raised. I saw, Natalia, that your hand went up first. As a reminder, speaking time is 2 minutes. I'm going to get my little timer ready momentarily, and then I will unmute you to speak. You're allowed to speak. Your time will start now.
Good morning, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yep.
Good morning. My name is Natalia Gonzalez, and I'm an applicant for the Community Engagement and Advisory Board. I'm applying as a community advocate, a public servant, and a student. As you all know from my application, I help lead community engagement and external affairs efforts for the Riverside County Superintendent of Schools, Dr. Edwin Gomez. And in this role, I have the opportunity to engage with 23 school districts, the state of California, and also community members in fostering partnerships and driving community engagement efforts. Along with that, I am a born and raised resident of the Inland Empire and have grown up in the Eastern Coachella Valley. And I want to emphasize that because I have noticed on the current board, we are lacking in representation specifically in the Inland Empire and specifically the Coachella Valley region. I have a deep understanding of the unique challenges in which my community faces. And I also want to note that I am also a doctoral student at USC with a bachelor's degree in political science from UCLA and a master's in communications from CBU. I urge you all, I've obviously been on the conversation or been hearing the conversation. I urge you all to please stick with the original recommendation that was given, as obvious that it is, I believe that I am passionate about the work that C2C is doing, and I believe that my work in the professional space closely aligns with this advisory board. I know that there was also a comment made on the governor's master plan for workforce development, and I would like to note that I have been a clear advocate, attended all the meetings that have happened here in the Inland Empire region, the one happening in San Bernardino Community College, and those meetings that have been happening. And so I do want to note that I have been on those boards, and I do have a clear connection with workforce development that aligns closely with the governor's wishes. And so with that, I look forward to meeting you all. And I just want to note that plead that you all please continue with the original recommendation, as I was obviously scored as number 1. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we have another hand raised, and we did get another person wishing to speak. So Valerie, I see you up next. I'm also going to put on your 2-minute timer, allowing you to talk.
Good morning, all. My name is Valerie Johnson, and I represent the Campaign for College Opportunity. I'm here to strongly support Marissa Johnson's candidacy for the Community Engagement Advisory Board. We were happy to see her slated as your runner-up there. Marissa is our Senior Manager of Policy Impact and has shown a deep commitment to improving educational access and quality for California students. Last year, she led a statewide listening tour with 12 events across the state, connecting with education and business leaders to address the needs of California's student. She is an expert in equitable placement and transfer, providing critical resources and gathering feedback to refine policy implementation. Her leadership in the Equitable Placement and Completion Coalition showcases her ability to collaborate with students and practitioners, and her experience with the communities who will benefit from the Cradle-to-Career data system makes her an ideal candidate. Her expertise will ensure the data system supports evidence-based decision-making and serves all Californians equitably. We thank you for considering Marissa and support her fully. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we have one more public commenter, and that's Gabriella. Gabriella, I'm going to allow you to talk, and I'll start your 2-minute timer.
Good morning. Thank you. My name is Gabriela Jimenez. I'm the Government Community Affairs Manager at JVS. I'm speaking on behalf of Lisa Countryman-Quiros, the CEO of JVS, and wanted to thank the Trustee Romero and Gonzalez for lifting up the need for a workforce development voice on the Community Engagement Committee. JVS is a data-driven organization, and we, continue to leverage EDD data and others to help create successful job training for folks who've been systematically excluded from the workplace. And Lisa has really led that strategy. And we really see C2C as a great opportunity to connect that, EDD and other workforce type of data into this great system and really help us and other statewide workforce development organizations to create and better serve our communities. As you may know, JBS is based in San Francisco. However, we're expanding. We have a program in the Inland Empire, developing one in San Diego and UC Davis area. So we'll be able to bring, create that feedback loop with communities and organizations throughout the state into this if selected to the board. So thank you again for this opportunity for Lisa and JBS to, bring that voice if selected. And thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Just laying it out for board members, any other discussion before we go to a vote?
Sorry, we did get one more public commenter.
Go for it.
Okay, brilliant. So Naphtali, I see your hand raised. I'm going to allow you to talk and put on your 2-minute timer, and just saying to the group, if there's anyone else that would like to comment, please raise your hand at this time. That would be very helpful. Thank you. Allowed to talk.
Hi, good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Hi, everyone. My name is Naphtali Galarza, and I serve as the Director of Community Engagement and Partnerships for the Riverside County Office of Education, specifically with the Riverside County Superintendent of Schools Office, and also as a council member in the city of Coachella. I'm calling today to speak on behalf and support of Natalia Gonzalez, who's I've had a chance to work with in both my role as a council member and at RCOE, where we are both employed. Natalia is under my direct supervision in the Community Engagement and Partnerships Unit for the countywide programs and education. We partner with multiple agencies, government and non-government agencies, tribal agencies, and so forth, including workforce development, whether it's at a county level or with nonprofits. Natalia has led a lot of the work on the grassroots level, on the ground, specifically in the Coachella Valley, from the Coachella Valley all the way to the Arizona border, Blythe community, and then all the way to the Imperial County border, Salt Lake City areas. but not exclusively to those communities, because wherever we're needed in terms of community engagement and partnerships, we're sought out everywhere. So at times we cover all the county from, to the fourth largest county in California, going from Imperial County to Arizona to San Diego County borders to Orange County borders and so forth. Natalia has been a delight to work with, to supervise, and I've been able to see her in these type of environments. And I know if given the opportunity to serve on this statewide commission, she'd be able to serve a community that oftentimes goes underrepresented in statewide agencies and statewide committees, not intentionally, but because oftentimes these committees are taken up by areas where there are more, there's more populations, and so sometimes the less dense communities go underrepresented. And I think Natalia would be able to serve quite well representing the community and working for all county across the state. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mary Kate, any other comment?
No other commenters at this time.
Okay. Okay. All very good comments from everybody phoning in and coming in on the Zoom. So thank you very much for all of that. I think the order of business is for us then to go to the vote, unless there are other board member comments.
Gavin, can you all hear me? Okay.
Yes.
Would it be possible for us to switch Christian with Natalia? She's also a student. The case that she made is really compelling.
No, I agree.
Yeah.
So, Julia, you can guide us here. Just to remind folks, Romero made the motion. So, Julia, if you'd be comfortable with it, if Romero would want to take on that amend to the motion.
Or Gonzalez Vasquez can move to amend the motion to switch, and then there would be a second and another vote.
That's true. So the first opportunity is for Member Romero to amend his own motion. If not, then we can do the second activity. Opportunity goes to Member Romero.
I would be willing to amend the motion.
Okay. So then let me make sure that we have this all right. In this instance, we would name Jones, Azeltine, Countryman, and Gonzalez as the primaries, as the members. And then help me out here. The follow-ups would be, the runners-up would be?
There would be another choice point. Would that be Johnson? Would that be Marissa Johnson, Peng, Van Guy, and then would you do Anushka with Christian? And those would be your four. But then I would just want prioritization, because before how it was set up, in your community backfilled your community.
Correct.
Now we're getting with 2 students in our runners-up category, so it's not, it doesn't package us properly. So it would be helpful to know prioritization of 1, 2, 3, 4 with this runner-up selection as slated. Does that make sense for folks?
Yep, makes perfect sense.
Yes. Could you show the slide with the members?
Yes.
Okay, thanks.
So slide 32 for Angelique. Do you want this slide or do you want the potential slating slide?
This slide is helpful. Thank you.
Okay, brilliant.
Okay, so Actually, I think we need to, I think we need a slide that's, that we can, write on and adjust. Marianne, your comment?
I was just gonna note and lift up what Mary Kate mentioned about the order. The
Yep.
way the slide is written right now, it has Christian Reyes before Anushka Tarikhanda. So just wanted to lift that up, given the original rank ordering. And I also wanted to flag, given the prior conversation, what's been our experience with runner-ups. We've seated more than one runner-up over the course of the last 2 years, as people sometimes need to cycle off of the advisory boards for a variety of reasons. It may well be possible that Tariq Handa would, you know, in a year or two from now, the concerns that were raised today about being under 18 would no longer be relevant. So I just wanted to uplift that and ask the committee to consider the order of the 2 students in the runner-up list.
Got it. Well, so the slide, as I'm looking at the slide, it looks like it's got, it essentially represents our decision-making, because we have listed Christian. I see what you're saying. The idea is that if in a year or two, in the natural course of things, the ranking that we gave to Anushka was higher than the ranking that the group collectively gave to Christian. And so the decision point would be swapping the 2 of them on this slide for consideration in the future. I'm a little bit concerned about that because we don't know what the timing is going to be. We don't know what might happen in terms of the in terms of how people might rotate off, or how somebody might have to or not be able to participate going forward. So I'm personally fairly comfortable with the slide itself in terms of how it's been laid out, and I'm eager to hear what others think.
I'm in agreement. I think we just treat this as right now, as a point in time now.
Okay.
And I think I agree with how it's arrayed currently.
All right. Others? I have little tiny slides, pictures, so I can't see everybody particularly closely. I'm just looking for hands or folks to say something out loud.
I'm comfortable with what's being proposed.
Okay.
Same.
We have had public comment on this issue, and so I think with the amended motion by Mr. Romero, that we are ready to go with a vote. Let me just do one check-in with Julia. Have we done the amended motion properly?
I think that's fine. I would confirm that the second still is comfortable seconding the amended motion.
Oh, the second. Who was the second?
It was a
John?
Yes.
Yeah. Do you agree with the motion?
Yes.
The amended motion. Thank you. Thank you, John. Okay. Looks like we are ready to go on for a vote.
For the clarity of the record, does anybody feel like this needs to be repeated before we go into the vote? Okay, brilliant. Member Payne.
Aye.
Member Gonzalez Vasquez.
Aye.
Member Ohanian.
Aye.
Member Romero.
Aye.
Member Vu.
Yes.
With 5 ayes, the motion passes.
Marvelous. Thank you. That was a great discussion, and I think we came up with a great solution to the issue as well. And I think we've come up with some pretty marvelous participants on both of our advisory boards. With that, I think we have to move on to item 5, general public comment. Before we open it up to folks on Zoom, I want to, and I pass it off to Mary Kate, I want to ask that folks in our remote locations that confirm that there is no public comment in your areas. For myself, there is no public comment. Ms. Gonzalez Vasquez?
No public comment.
Perfect. In the room?
No public comment here in
I see
Sacramento.
none. All right. Mary Kate, all yours for the Zoom.
Perfect. Happy to open it up to Zoom. So if there are folks on the line that would like to give general public comment, this is your time to do so. I'm not seeing any hands raised, but I'll give it another moment here. And we have one in. All right. If there's any other folks that would like to comment, please feel free to raise your hand, but we'll begin public comment with Natalia. I'm going to allow you to speak. 2-minute timer is on.
Good morning again, Natalia Gonzalez. I just want to thank you all again for taking the time to look over not only my application, but all of the other amazing candidates who filled in applications, who are committed to the organization and the mission. And obviously, we all share a commitment to the future of all of our students in the state of California. I just want to ask staff if they could just clarify, and I know you can't do it back and forth with public comment, but to clarify what the motion was made previous to this in terms of the advisory board. Thank you.
The motion
Go ahead.
please. The motion that was just passed related to the Community Engagement Advisory Board is that the 4 folks that would be seated for approval for the governing board would be Darrell Jones, Lisa Countryman, Scott Asseltine, and Natalia Gonzalez. And the 4 runners up would be Marissa Jones, Peng Van Guy, Christian Reyes, and Anushka Tadikonda.
The only thing I would add is that the runners up are in the following order. So when we have it in our minutes, that language will be there.
Correct. Yes. Thank you for
Perfect.
that clarification.
Perfect. Thank you. Any other public comment?
Seeing no other public comment, I'm happy to close public comment at this time.
Great. Okay. So now moving on to item 6. During this agenda item, we'll open it up to members of this committee, followed by members of the public. This is about future agenda items for us to discuss at future meetings of this committee. I want to open it up to members first. Scanning. Seeing none, let's go ahead and open it up to the public. I want to confirm that in this location, there is no one available to make comment on future board items. Member Gonzalez Vasquez.
Same.
Thank you. Mary Kate, anyone in the office?
No one here in Sacramento. Happy to open it up for the Zoom room.
Great.
So folks, if you'd like to ask for any future agenda items, please feel free to do so at this time. That's what we're accepting public comment on. I do see one hand raised, and that's Adam. So let me prepare for your comment, Adam. As we've said before, I'll allow you to speak, and then 2 minutes, please. Ready for you.
All right, great, thank you. My name is Adam Aquat. I'm a retired secondary administrator for 35 years in secondary education. And one thing I would like to see discussed in the future would be the possible addition of college level examination program exams added to the California State Dashboard. It would be a great way for many of the underrepresented groups of students who might live further away from schools in less urban areas, and that in schools that do not offer AP or IB exams. And CLEP exams are accepted at all community colleges in the state of California and all South states, and 2,900 schools over the entire United States. And so it's my hope that there could be more attention given to that, and which would give students a much better opportunity for college readiness and increase their abilities to get through college. There's ways. I work as a consultant with modernstates.org. And Modern States offers free online courses where students can obtain CLEP tests for free and take the exams and get college credit for free. And it would be a great way to go and help level the playing field. So I'm hoping that could be added to an agenda item in the future, having CLEP exams added to possibly the state dashboard for California.
Thank you. Thank you for those comments. Any others?
I'm not seeing any other hands raised at this time.
Okay, thank you. Moving on then to item 7, our adjournment. I want to thank everybody who joined us today, specifically our 5 committee members, the entire C2C team for your ongoing support, and the public for the invaluable input and support you provided today. Obviously, your comments changed minds, so that's always a welcome thing. Our achievements are the result of collective collaboration, and your ongoing support has made invaluable contributions to our success. I want to extend also a thank you to all those that applied this year. The applications were tough to score, so thoughtfully crafted, which made it very, very difficult decisions for the committee. I want to thank the individuals who provide written or verbal comments to the applications, as well as those who were on the Zoom today, and we appreciate your time and energy. As a general reminder, the individuals who were selected today will be advanced to the August 14th governing board meeting to be recommended for approval by the full governing board, which is enfranchised to make these decisions. There will be an opportunity to join this meeting virtually through Zoom, and so more information will be forthcoming on the C2C website for those who are interested. And with that, I want to thank you all, especially those who I can see on the cameras today in the new offices and elsewhere, and appreciate everybody's participation in this process. I want to adjourn this meeting at 11:31. Thank you again all for your help and participation. This meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for everything.